I want you to imagine that the world of sitcoms is like a big buffet, and that certain classic sitcoms would be, I don't know, Friends would be fried chicken, and Seinfeld might be mac and cheese, but like the basic things you have in a good buffet. So, Night Court, the sitcom that I'm going to talk about today, would be sort of like apple crumble, right? Something really, really good, but you have to do it really well for it to taste good. Um, and I think for the most part, the show manages to taste good, to be good. It ran for 9 seasons, starting in 1984. And the premise of the show is really interesting because it's this very unusual situation, which is a night court. So basically, it's like a regular court, but at night for some reason. So you get all of like the craziest people coming to this court. Like crazy people, not crazy people, whoever has been caught in the wide net of justice. And then you have, and I don't know if this is true to life or not, but you have, instead of having a rotating cast of prosecutors and public defenders, the public defender would be connected to this specific session and this specific judge. And the district attorney, the same thing. And of course, the bailiffs are connected to this specific courtroom as well. So because you have employees who stay the same, they're able to show their like unique characteristics, kind of being acting as foils against all of the crazy characters that they encounter. So it can get really, really, really funny and a bit too saccharine and sweet sometimes as well. And this is before a show like Seinfeld came on with a no hugging rule. So there was some hugging, and the hugging sometimes was unearned and weird. There was this moment in one of the episodes, I think in the second or third season, where there's a law court, a young law court, who is law clerk, not court. Weird that I said it that way. There's a law clerk who is in a wheelchair, and her and Harry, because Harry is the judge of this court and he's young, and obviously he's interested in starting a relationship with somebody, so they're like flirting. They have this kind of thing, and she eventually asks him out on a date, and he says no, and she reacts honestly badly because she's asked like four people to this thing, and Harry is like the last one that she asks. And Harry treats the fact that she gets mad about this as some sort of personal affront. Like, how dare you think that I, a person you barely know, would treat you the way that everybody else treats you? So they do have those moments which are kind of like out of place, I would say. But then they have moments which I don't think modern sitcoms do as much, or at least modern sitcoms in the Seinfeld, Friends, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia vein. I would say sitcoms like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Rec, The Good Place are really good about talking about people's emotions and feelings and being sensitive. So there are good moments of that in this show, like the character of Dan Fielding. He's portrayed as kind of this womanizing jerk, but he has a backstory, which is that he grew up very, very poor and his father was a failure, and he doesn't want to be a failure like his dad, right? But he loves his parents, but he's kind of ashamed of his parents. So he is a complicated character. So apart from those moments, the show is just really funny, especially from seasons 1 to 4. Maybe later it gets very, very bizarre, but 1 to 4, The humor is really, really refreshing, which is kind of odd to say about a show that's been off the air for almost 40 years, but maybe not 40 years, but 30 years, at least 30 years almost. So, but it is refreshing because the jokes are really, really specific to the situation. So I can't really tell you the jokes, but there's a character named Bull who is played brilliantly by Richard Mole, and he has like a lot of like these random comments, and he does get sort of flanderized as the show goes on, but in the early seasons he's not a big idiot. He wants to improve himself, he wants to learn new vocabulary, and he has like a big heart. um, but there's this kind of like little conflict between him and Dan. And Dan Fielding was the breakout star of this show, or character of this show. John Larroquette played Dan Fielding. He was the breakout star. And he's given just so great lines. And again, the humor is really hard for me to say, but there's this point where a drunken guy is talking to him, and he says, "Oh, what can I do for you, Dan?" And he's like, "Light a match and blow." Like, it's just like, you have to think about that joke for a moment, but like, oh, he's telling you to go blow himself up, you know? So it has such great humor. The writing was like really, really top notch. I think the one other thing to talk about the show, well, maybe two things. One is that the show wasn't really a success when it came out, and it was only really a success for two seasons. I think season 3 and season 4. And the sort of night court, if you've ever watched the show, and you should, the sort of night court that you know, at least for me, is the night court of that 4th season, because all of the characters are the ones that are sort of established. And so it's kind of weird how they've cut down the number of episodes of shows, and a show is not allowed to be bad in the beginning anymore. It has to be a hit from the get-go, or people are not going to come back. And I think that's kind of sad. Like, though that's one thing that network TV sort of provided that streaming doesn't really, because streaming needs hits to grab you, to grab your attention, to keep you paying the monthly fee or whatever. And if you don't have hits, you're probably not going to pay the monthly fee. Whereas in broadcast television, you had like, I mean, there were only like 5, 6, 7 channels or whatever, but you still had choice. Like Night Court, as I said in the beginning, and in its beginning, wasn't very successful. It was like 40th or something nationally. But a show that was 40th nationally meant like millions of people were watching the show. Wasn't the most successful thing, but people were still watching it, right? Because they liked the idea, it was funny. The other thing to note about Night Court is something called the Night Court curse. And that's because the casting in this show is crazy. So from the beginning, there was always Harry Anderson as Judge Harold T. Stone. There was always Richard Mole as Bull. There was always John Larroquette as Dan Fielding. And then there was a kind of like a rotating cast of people who were playing the public defender. And eventually, a character named Christine Sullivan becomes the main public defender, and she would last until the end. And they went through, I think, 3 public defenders in the first season, another 2 in season 2, and then finally in season 3, they landed on Christine Sullivan. And the reason they wanted that character is because the producers really liked the actress. And you can really tell that when Christine Sullivan kind of elevates the humor, because Harry and Dan and Bull, they're like up here. And up until that point, all of the public defenders have been kind of here. So they've been saying funny things, but not really that funny as characters. And Christine comes and she's funny as a character. And so Christine was one of the people who was rotating in that year of rotating public DAs, season of rotating public DAs. And she really impressed people, but she was under contract. So they hired another person temporarily. And at the end of the season, they got rid of her and brought the actress who was playing Christine. And she was so mean. The actress who got fired, she was so mean to the actress who played Christine, that she was like, "Oh, how would you feel if you were replaced by this actress?" And I was like, "Lady, she's better than you are." So if that lady was replacing me on my review channel, she'd probably do it better than me. Although I think, unfortunately, a lot of the actors who appeared on that show are now passed away. I'm not sure if the actress who played Christina is still with us. But yeah, if she is, she'd do a better job on this review channel than I would. For sure. But then the other thing that I didn't tell you about was the bailiffs. So the person that I think when I think about Night Court, so Bull is Bull, but then there's always like another, there's like a bailiff team, Bull and someone else. And so the person I think of as the someone else is a character named Ross. But Ross doesn't come on until season 4. And the crazy part is they had a character named Selma on the first 2 seasons, and she does a good job. She's like curmudgeonly. The jokes land. It's kind of like wonderful. But she died. The actress died of lung cancer, so they had to replace her, obviously. So they looked for somebody who was similar enough to the actress. Like, they didn't replace the character. The character dies in the show. But they got a new character, a new bailiff. Her name is Flo. And she kind of had the same vibe as Selma, but a little bit different. And I think this is when they tried to make the Bull character more stupid, because a lot of Flo's lines are digs at Bull, whereas Selma never really thought Bull was stupid, because Bull, fundamentally as a character, is not stupid. He's just big and intimidating and scary, but he's not stupid, right? So anyway, the crazy part about this replacement is that Flo, also the actress, dies of lung cancer after season 3. So they say, okay, we're not hiring any old ladies anymore to be bailiffs. We're going to hire somebody much younger. And that's when Roz got the job until the end of the series. But wow, can you imagine? I don't think anyone that I have worked with, to my knowledge, has died. And generally I work with people who are much younger than I am. So, but that's now. Before, I was working with people who are the same age as me. But yeah, I can't imagine going to work at a comedy when an actress dies like that. That's hard. The first death. The second death is like, oh my God, it would be so difficult. But yeah, I think Night Court, for me, is a sitcom that I can watch again and again and again. It was on syndication when I was a kid, and I think that really, really helps. And unfortunately, syndication, I guess, is still a thing, but I don't think that kids are sitting down to watch sitcoms from 20 years ago like they used to, like I used to when I was a kid, just because the nature of media is a little bit different. But I think I don't know. So for me, I think it's a really great sitcom. It has its weaknesses, like I mentioned, but it's funny, it's interesting. But what do you think? I would be really curious to hear from people who've never watched Night Court. Like, check it out. Tell me what you think about it. Especially like from seasons 1 to 4. It goes 9 seasons, as I said, but the rest is not that good. So seasons 1 to 4. So pick a random episode. Tell me what you think about it. All right. If you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel. Please leave a comment. All of those things help out the channel and its growth. I'm trying to get to 20 subscribers by the end of June. We're in the middle of June and we have 2 more subscribers to go. So I believe that we can do it. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.